All right. So again, as I said, we all have a story. We all have gone through something. We all have witnessed something. We all have risen before. And so I want to encourage you today to rise again. You've done it before. You have strength. You have power. Okay? You have purpose. And so what we're having to do is we're having to rise again, to dream again, to build back up again. All right? So I want you all to understand and start with the posture of I already got it. This may have to uncover this a little bit, but it's already there. The diamond is already there. You just have to dig it up, right, and kind of polish it up a bit. But in order for you to, conference. I have a conference January 28th. I have an annual conference every year. This is the 5th year I'm hosting it. If you all can just take a picture, this is the website you can go to, and the code for 15% off this week only is RISE23, and this is special for the Ladies Talk conference, but you can find a bit more about what I do on my website. So in order for you to rise up, you have to embrace your story. And I wrote here, until you own where you have come from, you will never get to where you are trying to go. Until you have owned encounters of your life, where you've come from, struggles you've had to face, right? You will never be able to fully and holistically go into the next level that God has for you, right? Because you will be trying to be someone else that you're not. You'll be trying to mask parts of yourself. You can't speak freely. You can't dream freely, right? But you have to say, I am enough. My story may be flawed, as all of ours are, but I am still somebody. I am still going places. And so my story, people look at me now, but this is where I grew up. Right there. Housing project, 17 years of my life. Never lived in a house, even an apartment, none of that until I packed my suitcase and I came to Howard University. And so, yes, ain't you? Ooh, 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 ooh. But I had to say, yes, my mother had me at 17. She had 4 children by 21. That's my story. Did I live 17 years in a housing project? Sometimes the water was off, no heat, no lights, right? That's my story. That sometimes I went to sleep, and guess what? I didn't know if a bullet was going to come through our window or not. Now as an adult, I have those same triggers and traumas, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I don't know why I feel like people are intruding on my space. But until I embrace my story and my heritage, I can't work out the traumas and the triggers that I have now, right? And so you have to understand that your origin matters. You can be who you are. You don't have to share parts of your story. There's some people in the back. I want them to come in if they're able to. I'm sorry, you can stand or sit here. Is anyone sitting here? Yes? Someone sitting here? You're saving a seat. Okay. All right. So you have to understand that I do apologize. We're almost out of seats. We are out of seats, actually. Maybe they can bring a couple. But if you don't mind standing or sitting, okay, great. So what you have to understand in order for you to rise, where are you rising from? What is your origin? What is your story? What motivates you? What encourages you? What do you need to work through? What do you need to heal from? We're ready to rise, but we don't do the hard work of understanding exactly who we are. What is our DNA? And so until you embrace your story, that you had some tough times and some hills to climb, until you can be honest with yourself, that it's not always roses and peaches, that sometimes you're distracted, sometimes you don't have confidence, sometimes you don't even know who you are, sometimes you're living but you're not alive. Embrace that. Then the resources will come. Then the blessings will come. Then the people will come. Then the partnerships will come. Then the people that can walk you through. But if you're not being who you are and sharing your authenticity and your vulnerability, then what resources can help you out of your season? Embrace your story. I'm sad today. I don't feel like I have it all together. I've never told anyone this, but I believe that God is wanting me to open up about that, right? Embrace your story. Do not be afraid of the obstacles you've had to overcome. It's a part of your DNA. And so after you embrace your story, and we get past this whole Instagram, gotta have it together, filter, and I like filters sometimes too with my IG lives. But you have to decide, am I going to use my story to be a place of overflow, or am I going to be so overwhelmed and so shut off to possibilities that I am living in a drought? I have a friend who lives in Texas, and there's this neighborhood in Texas. Would you like a seat? Absolutely. There's this neighborhood in Texas, and every house has a pond. Every house has a pond. So y'all know some neighborhoods, every house has to have the pool. Some neighborhoods, every house has to have the picket fence. Well, this neighborhood, every house has a pond. And in this neighborhood in Texas, I'm gonna make sure she gets situated. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm such a nurturer. I'm like, everyone needs to be served. Okay. In this neighborhood in Texas, my friend went and she visited the homes, visited all her friends, and when she went to the back, she noticed the ponds were no longer. They had all dried out, except for one house. And she's so confused, and she goes to the house that has the water in it. She said, how come everyone else around you is living in a drought? Like their ponds are just dried out. There's no fish, there's no water, there's no vegetation. And she said, because my pond was not man-made. She said, every house around me had a man-made pond. That when they purchased their property, they got someone to dig up the dirt and to put the water in. But what I have was built by God. What I have was here before anyone put their hands on it. And she said, if you were to go down to the bottom of this pond, there is a spring of water that never stops. There is a spring of water that it is impossible to experience a drought because how God created this. And I believe that we can take our stories and we can allow our stories and our tribulations to be a drought to us. I can never overcome. I can never love again. I can never be a great business owner. I've failed over and over and over again. Or you can view yourself and say, you know what? It's impossible for me to dry out. It's impossible for me to fail. Because inside of me, I have a living spring of water, of passion, of purpose that will not stop. And so as you are navigating your lives, are you realizing that God has placed a unique spring of purpose and of healing that only you can tap into? No one else has the authority to turn your spring off but you. But God has said, I don't want to turn it off. I want you to experience my abundance. I want you to experience my overflow. But it's all in how you view it. So your obstacles, the season you may be going through right now with your great concealer on and your laid edges that no one else knows, you're going to have to make a choice when you go home. You're going to have to make a choice when you open up your notes from this conference today, that am I going to, the next obstacle that comes my way, am I going to allow the enemy to tell me that I cannot recover from this? Or am I going to dig into the spring of water that God has ordained inside of me? You have a choice. So it starts with how you view it. Again, which brings me to this picture here. For those who know Mike Todd, he's a pastor in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he has this phrase that your sight is what you see with your eyes open, and your vision is what you see with your eyes closed. So with my sight, I see a room full of beautiful women, different hues, shapes, sizes. I see this beautiful burnt orange / red jacket. I see these beautiful pink bags. I see beautiful smiles. That is what I see with my sight. Sight is what an ophthalmologist is testing, your sight. But your vision is what you see with your eyes closed. So with my eyes closed, I see a room of women who are breaking generational curses. I see businesses that are being birthed. I see books that are being written. I see joy. I see you all overcoming depression and anxiety. So when you are deciding to rise above whatever obstacle or season that is in your way, you have to decide, am I going to go by what I see in front of me? Am I going to go by my resume, my bank account, my followers? Or is my vision so big that only God can give it? So I know it may not make sense right now. I know you may not interpret the blueprint the way I see it, but I'm not going to stay depressed forever. I'm not going to stay absent of joy forever. I know that I procrastinated in the past, but with my vision, y'all, where God is taking me, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. That is how you have to approach your obstacles. You can't approach your obstacles with, woe is me. Man, I've been trying to do this thing for 5 years. I wrote this thing down 50 times. I'm afraid to dream again for the new year. I don't want to write down my goals because I never get it done. But when you partner with God and you release the limitations that is set by the earth, and you realize that there are angels in every home and room, in every car, in every journal that is ready to activate that thing, you begin to think bigger, to dream bigger, to want to rise permanently and not just for a moment. Amen? Amen. And so I want you all to decide today. You're at this conference. Some of you all are part of LadiesT.A.L.K. Some of you probably saw it on Eventbrite. But why did you show up today? Why are you here? And what is on the inside of you that is ready to spring out? And the unique thing is that pond, it can fill up someone else's drought. It's never ending. It does not have limitations. And so you have to realize that when you say yes, you are unlocking the yes of others. When you are overcoming your mental health struggles or obstacles or defeats, that you are empowering and you are a living testimony to someone else that God still works, that he's still here. And that broken crayons still color. And so you have a choice. No limitations. Stop playing small. Stop standing in your own way. Stop telling yourself what you can't overcome. Stop telling yourself that you are not good enough, because guess what? You are. You are. But it starts with how you see yourself. So when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see yourself, are you looking at flaws first or are you looking at beauty? We all have flaws. But what are you focusing on? What are you having a micro what's that glass? There we go. What do you put a microscope on in your life? That one chapter, or the fact that God still has more chapters that has not yet been written? It is your choice. It is up to you to decide how you're viewing your obstacles and your struggles and your setbacks. And then I want you all to understand that you have to also choose, are you going to react or respond? A lot of us get in trouble because we just out here reacting, right? Right? So I gave an analogy earlier today that if a car was like to come and like almost hit you, you would do what? You would get out of the way. You don't think about it. Oh my, you don't think about it. It naturally happens. Your body reacts to things and triggers. If I'm speaking at a big event, or sometimes today, like I can start shaking because my body is reacting. Your body reacts. But for you to respond, you have to choose. For you to respond, it takes proper planning, right? And so sometimes we get ourselves into situations and things and binds because we're just out here reacting to everything. You upset me. You sent me a text message. You didn't like my photo. You told me I'll never be nothing. We're just out here reacting to everything. And the enemy is sitting back winning. He's sitting back because we're not thinking about our response. We're not taking a step back to say, you know what, I'm going to pray on this. Every good thing is not a God thing. I'm going to pray on this. I'm going to fast on this. I'm not even going to respond back to that person because they're trying to get me out of character. And I already told God that nothing or no one can get me out of character. And so as you all are making plans, as you're overcoming your trials and your tribulations, are you going to be a person that's out here instantaneously reacting to things? Because guess what? The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He knows your pain points. He knows your buttons. He knows your triggers. He knows what to do to get you off course. And every time you just so happen to just to react and you don't put thought into it and prayer and strategy and precision, then the enemy wins. And so I need a room full of prayerful women, tactful women, women with strategy, insight, precision. But that happens when you take out the time to plan, think time, meditation, prayer time, in my word. During this time, I'm not on social media. How are you going to set barriers up to protect your vision and to protect yourself? That matters. And so after you realize, oh, and then I had that here, because sometimes you got to try a few plans. And if the first plan doesn't work, you go to plan B and plan C and you continue to trust the plan of God, even if the first plan or the first response does not work. But God is in the details of your plan, and you have to remember that. So, all right. So another thing that I believe is important for us to understand as we're rising above our obstacles is that we have to understand and do inventory of the season that we're in. Historically, I would preach, everyone needs to go find their midwife, which you do. But everyone needs to go find their midwife who's going to help you push out that purpose. God has something on the inside of you that must come out, and that is true. But sometimes in seasons of your life, you're not ready to push and you need a doula, okay? There is a difference. A doula focuses on the needs of the mother, offering mental, physical, and emotional support. So they're saying, how are you feeling right now? What is your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? What are your emotions? What are your thoughts, right? They want to understand you, mind, body, and spirit holistically. And a midwife, their only job is to get down and say, push. I don't want to hear it. You got something inside of you. It is ready. It is time for you to push. It must come out. But I believe that when we overcome tough seasons, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. We're ready to start that business. We're ready to get that partnership. We're ready to get that funding. We're ready to push. We're ready to have that midwife. We're ready to hire that business coach. We're ready to get that marketing guru. But what we need is a therapist to help us unpack some things first. Wait a minute. What we need is a counselor to help us realize areas and scars and places of healing that we need. And so I'm not saying not to be a woman of action, because that's who we are, okay? We as women are people of action, and we wear many hats. But what I'm saying is take inventory of where you are and what you need. Because what the world does not tell you is that with new levels come new devils. What the world does not tell you is that if you are not mentally strong, you can walk into a door that you are not ready for. What the world does not tell you is that your blessing, if you are not spiritually mature, can become something other than a blessing. It can become a curse because you're not ready for it yet. You haven't done the healing. You haven't talked it out. You haven't, and so what I want you to understand is that make sure you are doing the work as you rise. Make sure you are sharing your emotional trauma. Make sure you are sharing your needs, your desires, as you are pushing and building that you have to have it happen. And the thing is, sometimes you need one, like this season of my life, I'm going to be very transparent. Past year, God said, Christian, sit down. I said, okay. I need you to go to a therapist. Okay. I took a test, and the therapist said, Christian, you're depressed. I said, what? She said, yes. And I have been preaching on this platform of wellness for all these years. And God allowed me to go through that so that I can understand in a different way how to show up in my purpose, how to connect with women in a deeper way that's not just based off of scientific fact or spiritual intuition or the Bible, but from practicality, right? And so what I realize is as I am pushing, I can have both. So sometimes you may go into a delivery room and there is a midwife and a doula there together. So what do you need? Who do you need in your circle? Who is there to encourage you, to push you, to help you heal as you rise? Because I have a lot of people that come to me and they want coaching and they wanted the 6 figures, they get it. Now what? They're not happy, right? Or their business blows up and they don't know how to manage, send an email. They're like overwhelmed, they're stressed, and they're not enjoying the bountifulness of their blessing. So all I'm saying is do the work. to look inside and say, God, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm going there. Can you help me right now prepare for where I'm going? God, can you help me right now in this present time of my life, prepare to where I believe you're taking me in the next year, in the next 6 months? God, I have not submitted my resume just yet, but can you help prepare me professionally for the job and the title that you have that I know is mine? Do the work so that when you enter into the territory, you can go toe-to-toe with the enemy, that you don't have to back off or bow down, but that you will have the tools inside of you to stand firm and stand strong in the name of God. Amen? Amen. And so, midwife or doula, and if you don't have a person, if no one comes to mind, because in the other sessions, isolation came up a lot. My prayer for you is to believe that God has someone for you. Even if they have not entered into your life just yet, there is someone that is loyal, that is not going to be backstabbing, that is going to give just for the sake of it, not wanting anything else in return. Begin to pray and be specific about our prayer requests. Because what I believe, as we are, and this is just off topic, but what I believe, as God gives us visions, we place limitations on a limitless God. We are not being specific enough. We are not being detailed enough. We are asking for a few things when we need more. So stop placing limitations on God. And when you say you're going to rise up, rise up. Go to the highest altitude. Be the best at it. Don't just be mediocre. That's the God we serve. That is the God that we serve and that we represent. And when people ask, how did you rise above that? Wasn't she just depressed 2 weeks ago? Didn't she just post that she lost a job? But God. So when you decide that you're going to partner with God, God gives you strategy, God gives you insight that no man can give, but you have to trust the process. And you have to trust that God is going to equip you with everything you need to rise, even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when it feels uncomfortable. And so the next thing that I want to share, and I'm going to go to the next slide for the sake of time, is that thoughts originate in fear or faith. What path will you choose? One thing that I learned, I want to say last year, my husband told me, he said, Christian, you're playing small. You are playing so small, right? And so I don't want you to have limitations in what God has for you because it originated in fear. And so what I want to encourage you as you all are rising up, as you leave this place, protect your house. Stop giving people permission to enter into your home or to even step on your territory without authority given from you. And if people are in the wrong place in your home, guess what? You can rearrange accordingly, but you have to protect your home. And just because someone else doesn't value their home doesn't mean you have to adopt their rules. Just because someone else is on shaky foundation does not mean that you have to adopt their same soil. You set the temperature. My mom always said a woman in her home is a thermostat and not a thermometer. You probably heard this before. A thermostat sets the tone. If I want the temperature to go up, I set it up higher. If I need for it to calm down, I set the temperature to go lower. And anyone else who comes into my territory has to adapt to the temperature that I set. And that is how you have to view your life. You are your home. You set the temperature for your faith, your prayer life, what you will do, how you will and will not respond. No one else has the authority to set that temperature but you. So what will it take? And what boundaries will you have to put in place? Or who will you have to tell to exit so that your home is a place of safety and peace and joy? And another thing is, how do you view your home? How do you view the foundation that God has built you on? You are beautiful. Your home, it can't depreciate. It is priceless. There are many rooms. How are you viewing the home that God has given you? Your mind, your spirit. Are you cursing it or are you embracing it? Because I do believe that renovations will come. Expansion will come, right? It may not be what you want it to be right now, but if you put it in the hands of God who built the heavens and the earth, he can build you up too. No matter where you are, no matter how you show up, if you place your hands in the hand of God, God, the master potter, can really magnify your drought and replenish it with his everlasting joy and everlasting love. And so what I want to declare as we end today is that you go up and you rise and you take back everything the enemy thought he had permanently. That you rise up so high that you take back your joy and you take back your peace and you take back your security and you take back your purpose. Because the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But our God came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. So live today, my sisters. Dream today, my sisters. Rise today, my sisters. And know that with God, all things are possible. So who in here is ready to rise? Who in here is energized? That your past, baby, your past happened. You cried some tears. You went through some things. But you are about to rise up, and I give God the glory in advance. Amen. Amen. Sorry about that. So I think we are done, but we may have time for one question, comment, or just kind of close us out today. Is there anything on anyone's heart? Maybe you want to empower? I thought I went to the last slide. RiseWithChristian.com is my website. And at the bottom is my Instagram. So for my website, you can go to my podcast. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can see the speaking and preaching engagements that I have on Sundays. So that is kind of like the hub that I have. Amen. All right, we got a CEO in the building. Can you please give her a round of applause? Woo! Amen. 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 So is there anything else? We're gonna go out, I believe, to lunch. Or do you have words? Okay.